Hey guys, Ashley here with Real Buyer Agency and John L. Scott Bothell. A few days ago, the Northwest MLS publicly released market data that ran through the end of May, and as such, we can now provide you with our monthly market report for June 2020. Once again, we will start with a basic update on what's been occurring in the national 30-year fixed mortgage rates before we move on to look specifically at the statistics for the residential real estate markets of King and Snohomish County, Washington. So, with that very brief intro out the way, let's get started.
Okay, as we've done for the last few episodes, going to start this one off with 30-year mortgage charts, again by Freddie Mac. And so this data is showing us what was the weekly average mortgage rate for a 30-year fixed according to Freddie Mac. So if we go back to April the 30th, we can see that back then it was 3.23%. And it didn't go much higher than that through the entire of May. It went up a little bit though, up to 3.26% on May 7th, and then 3.28% on May 14th. And then after that, I started to come back down. The week ending Thursday, May the 21st was 3.24%. And then by the end of the month, we'd actually come down again to what would be, for a weekly average, the lowest of all time, as far as our records show. And that would be 3.15%. Which is obviously great if you're looking to purchase right now. And you get even better rates, obviously, on the 15 years and other options. But through the first week of June, it's been averaging back up a little bit, 3.18%. But again, I mean, sub 3.2%. This is, as I've said a number of times the last few months, historic territory. So again, I don't know how far down these can go, but particularly now since they've been separated from kind of longer term bonds, as I understand it. But yeah, great time to get a mortgage, and these low interest rates really help buyers in their purchases and help sellers achieve good price points. Okay, moving on to the local data. Our first chart here is newly active listings. And so newly active listings for the month of May 2020 in King County, we had 3,585. And in Snohomish County, we had 1,494. Now in King County and Snohomish County, in both cases, this is down year over year, and quite substantially. In King County in May 2019, we had 5,483 active listings. We're looking at the yellow columns here. And in Snohomish County, we had 2,157 new active listings, so that's a respective decline of 34.62% in King County and 30.74% in Snohomish County. And then looking month to month, in King County and Snohomish County, we were down, which is unusual for this time of year. In King County, we had 2,707 in April, and in Snohomish County, 2,157 newly active listings in April of this year, respectively. And yeah, obviously that's almost certainly down to coronavirus. Normally the month of May in the Puget Sound area is the month with the most newly active listings, and the month with the most total active listings on the market and the most pending sales. So we're actually substantially down in both cases, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we move forward here. So switching over to the total active listings. As you can see, King County has 3,467 total active listings at the end of May 2020. That's in the last day of May 2020. And Snohomish County on the last day of May 2020 had 1,243 total active listings. And this includes all residential listings, single-family homes, condos for resale, and also new build. Now, in both cases, again, considerably down year over year. King County in the end of May 2019, we had 5,785 total active listings on the market, and the decrease there represents a decrease of 40.07%. And in Snohomish County, the end of May 2019, we had 2,052 total active listings left on the market, which represented a decrease of almost exactly the same as King County, 39.42% year over year. Okay, so this is normally we do our months of inventory. Unlike other months, though, I don't think you can really actually infer that much right now from this without also looking at pending data. So we'll quickly look at this slide, but actually perhaps the more important slides are going to come up immediately following for pending data. But yeah, let's just do this slide first. So King County, May 2020 was 1.74 months of inventory, and Snohomish County at the end of May was 1.35 months of inventory. This means in the case of King County, factor in for the absorption rates up fractionally from May 2019, where we had 1.71 months of inventory. And in Snohomish County, you can see down year over year from 1.47 down to 1.35. So a slightly different situation here between King County and Snohomish County. And in month to month, also the opposite. So month to month, King County actually at the end of April had 1.57 months of inventory, and Snohomish County had 1.39. So this means that month to month, King County has increased its inventory relative to absorption rates by 10.83%, and Snohomish County relatively has lost 2.88%. While year over year, again to 2 decimal places, King County is up 1.75%, and Snohomish County is down 8.16%. But as I stated when this chart first came up, you really need to look at these numbers, which look here in isolation extremely comparable to last year. Only fractionally up in King County and fractionally down in Snohomish County year over year in months of inventory, but they don't tell the story of total transactional volume or total number of properties being brought to market and total pending sales. But the next couple of charts that I pull up shed a little more light on that in terms of the total volume of what's going on in the marketplace. Okay, so this chart shows the pending sales for King and Snohomish for May in the green, and in the yellow was last year, May 2019. So here we have our year over year data, and as you can see, King County down pretty sizably from 4,196 down to 3,358. So in literal terms, that's a loss of 838 pending sales. And in Snohomish, not as dramatic as you can see, looks more like it's on par, but it's still down slightly from 1,725 to the 1,669. Means a loss of 56 pending transactions year over year. And in percentage terms, that means that King County is down 19.97% and Snohomish County is down 3.25% year over year. Okay, so even looking there, just at the year over year charts for pending data for King and Snohomish, you might not see anything that stand out. But when we pull back now and look at this chart, which shows the number of pending sales for the Puget Sound 4-county area. So there's King, Snohomish, Pierce, and Kitsap counties. We can quickly see that we're sizably below where we are normally for May. And actually the last time that it was less than this, or in the vicinity of this, was in May 2012. As you can see, we've just 2 less pending transactions in May 2012. So that was all as we were starting to recover, but before the substantial recovery post the 2008 recession. And while it's not shown on this chart, what's also relevant here is that 6 out of the last 7 years, May has actually been the busiest month in terms of pending transactions for the entire year. It was 2015 was a little bit of an anomaly where April was fractionally higher. And in fact, that entire kind of spring, summer period was pretty hot in terms of transactional volume, with pending rates up in the 8,000s right from March through July. Anyway, so here's clear evidence of how COVID-19 may have slowed the market. I mean, we're still getting a decent number of listings, and obviously, particularly in Snohomish County, and at sub $1 million price points, we're seeing sales happen, and with interest rates being super low. But the inventory as a whole is down, and so is the pending activity for the month of May. So what's interesting now is this kind of begs the question, say we start to open back up again and end up operating on terms of more normality, will this result in an increase in volume for the remainder of the year, or is COVID-19 going to depress the volume for the year in the entirety? And so right now we might still be looking at the peak month of the year. So it'll be interesting to see as we move forward. We're going to have to obviously look at this through July, August, September, October, and see what happens. Okay, on to the listed and sales prices. This is a listing price chart, and if you looked at the far right, you can see that the King County for May 2020, we had $750,000 was the median list price. And in Snohomish County, that was $599,000. King County is up $1,000 in terms of median list price month to month, which represents pretty much nothing because one, it represents pretty much nothing at 0.13%, but secondly, again, it's a median price, so I mean, just the way the numbers fall, that doesn't really account for anything. Doesn't tell us anything at all. Just looks like a straight flat. And in Snohomish, we've come up here from, like I said, 589,950 to 599, so add in just a fraction over 9,000, or 1.53% month over month. Again, there's some variability because it's a median, and we got to be careful about that. But maybe a fractional difference in the listing price points, but that median list price in the case of King County is just $9,900 off the all-time high that was actually set in March of this year. In the case of Snohomish County, is highest median average list price on record. So, yep, agents and sellers recognizing the low inventory in the market, not being deterred by the COVID-19 in terms of their pricing, recognizing that interest rates are super low for buyers and there's super low inventory, and it's the time of year where people are normally out looking to buy, so they're clearly willing to test higher watermarks in terms of listing prices in their efforts to achieve top dollar. Now over to the all-important closing sales prices. The median closing sales price in May for King County was $627,000, and for Snohomish County was $493,000. This represents month to month a decrease of $23,000 in King County and a decrease of $14,500 in Snohomish County, respectively. This is a decrease of about 3.54% to two decimal places in King County and 2.86% decrease in Snohomish County. Year over year, looking through May last year, we were at $645,000 was the median closing sales price in King County, and $476,000 was the median closing sales price in Snohomish County. So while Snohomish County year over year, the median closing sales price is up $16,975. In King County, the median closing sales price is actually down $18,000. So while listing prices stayed comparatively very high or went to their all-time highs this previous month, by the time we got to their closing sales prices, they actually came down a bit, and this is despite the interest rates again trending to new all-time lows. I'm not sure exactly what's happening here, whether or not this is simply because things aren't appraising, or if despite properties getting into contract, which they are at a very, very high rate, buyers are still looking for something of a deal once they get into contract, on the basis that the extra difficulties that are happening in the COVID-19 and, while people are getting antsy. And so sellers are just willing in those engagements to maybe come down a little bit more or meet buyers' demands to try and push those things forward despite the difficult conditions.
So in summary, while May 2020 saw a slight uptick in new listings coming to market month to month versus April of this year, both new listings and total listings on the market were and remain substantially down versus this period last year. At the end of the month, the Puget Sound 4-county area actually ended up with 1,300 less pending transactions versus May 2019. And in terms of pending transactions, this was the slowest May since May 2012. In 6 of the last 7 years, May was the busiest month for residential real estate transactions. And so it will be interesting to see moving forward whether, when all is said and done, May will still represent a high watermark for monthly transactions in 2020, or whether the slowdown in terms of transactional volume that has come about as a result of this continuing market difficulty that exists as a result of COVID-19 will simply result in increases in inventory and transactional volume arriving later in the season. Interest rates on 30-year mortgages continue to trend down to ever more dramatic and historical lows, so that despite the many operational difficulties that are still in effect, buyer demand in general remains very high. This has resulted in the vast majority of properties listed going into contract extremely quickly, to the point that current inventory is being absorbed considerably faster than it is being replaced. At the same time, perhaps a little counterintuitively, the median closing prices for properties came down slightly in both King and Snohomish counties versus April. This was despite properties seemingly being listed at very similar or higher price points than in the previous months. The exact cause for this is not 100% clear. It could be something as simple as higher negotiated sales prices just not currently seeing support at those levels from appraisals. It could also be an offshoot of a slight apprehension that may exist and lay across the market as a whole at our somewhat economically, sociable, and procedurally turbulent time. It also could simply just be an anomaly. Either way, this is certainly something we will be sure to keep our eye on over the coming months. Okay then, that does it for our June market update. So if you have any questions on any of the topics discussed or simply wish to engage with us, please feel free to reach out via email or Twitter or simply comment below. Also, we would love to see you subscribe to the channel or the page, so if you think you may find a use for any similar content in the future, please do. Otherwise, as always, I hope this finds you well. Please continue to stay safe out there. Enjoy your returning local businesses, and have a great one.